Hey everyone, hello, namaskar, sat sri akal. Good evening to everyone in India and good afternoon to our guest who is going to be here with us in a short while. He is a person that is here on my Conversations with Teenath. And my dear friends, in Conversations with Teenath, in association with freebirds.co, we bring you some wonderful human beings of this earth. And this particular human being is someone I've known since he was a kid. And even then, now he's become a very, very big boy and a big person. He's a consultant and he is also someone to look out for because he is a pilot. And we're going to talk to him. And let me welcome him first. A very, very warm welcome to you, Javed Rahman. Welcome to my show.
Thank you very much. I've really been looking forward to this.
Wow, I'm so excited seeing you. It's been ages, in fact,
A
ages,
long
ages
time.
since I saw you last.
It's
And it's
been
so
a long
nice to see
time.
you.
Yeah, yeah. It's great to be here. I'm really looking forward to today.
Yes, yes. And you've grown up to be a pretty handsome person now. And I saw you as a little baby, and now you've grown up. And as
Thank you. Got big and fat, I guess.
no, you're looking perfect. Let's not talk about fat and thin. You're looking perfect. So we are going to talk about Javed today. This is Javed's day, Javed Rahman, who grew up in Shillong. And I want Javed to take us back to Shillong when he was growing up. Let us start from there. You know, you grew up in the most beautiful station in the Northeast, in this beautiful place in the Northeast, which is the capital city of Meghalaya. Please share some memories from your childhood.
Yeah, there quite a few. I mean, the home memories. I think the best ones we had. Living where we did, large family. Everyone was together. All the cousins and all the uncles and aunties, everyone together, large family. There was always, that sort of feeling which it's very difficult to have these days. Growing up these days, it's so small and nuclear families. That was an excellent way to start off. I mean, I remember Shillong. It's very cold, right? And especially in the winters, where we would have a bonfire, and everyone would come out and sit around the bonfire, and there would be stories, and that kind of life. I really, that's something that I really miss that we had in Shillong. And apart from that, yes, school. I went to St. Edmunds, and yeah, then I went to army school, uh, and yeah, lots of good times, really.
Wow, lovely. So, don't you feel like going back to Shillong sometimes? I mean, you stay in London, and London is so beautiful. I have been there once, and I was totally in love with all the green, those green pastures out there. But Shillong is also so beautiful, especially during
Shillong
the
is, yeah,
yes.
it's really beautiful, and I think after I left Shillong after my studies, I haven't been back to Shillong many times. It's just been 2 or 3 times I've actually been there, and I would definitely love to go back to Shillong to visit, but I mean, none of my family lives there anymore. We've all moved to Guwahati, so it's getting from London to Shillong is a really long journey to start with. But other than that, I'm sometimes in two minds. I try to remember it the way I did because Shillong has changed a lot. The last time I went there, it has changed a lot. I mean, good and bad. I mean, that's something with every place. But I think I'd like to remember some of the things that I had experienced and the way I remember my childhood. Uh, but yeah, definitely like to visit Shillong to see that some of the things are really, the way it has come up, the way the place has come up and the people have come up. It's really interesting to see that such a small town right in the corner has really come up so well.
Yeah, and I grew up in Shillong myself, so obviously I would love to again go back to Wards Lake and the Hydry Park, where we had so much fun, and to the golf links. So,
Oh yes,
those you can't miss. Those you'll never get in any part of the world. I mean, all
of
these things
course.
I'm sure you'll never get in any part of the world, even though you stay in one of the most beautiful places, in London. So, Javed, as far as I remember, like I said in the beginning, I knew as you as a little baby. When you were growing up, I heard from a lot of people that you were very interested in science and you used to do a lot of projects, and used to make charcoal and you were very interested in making solar panels and all those kind of things. So does that go back to your mother? Because your mother used to teach, I remember she used to teach physics, maths, and
Yeah,
science, right? She was a
she,
physics teacher.
she used to teach physics, but mainly she was a maths teacher. She has been a maths teacher for a very long time. And yes, it's all credit to her because she started my interest in science by bringing me science experiments books. So little home experiments that you could do in the kitchen. The charcoal was one of them. I don't recommend anyone do that at home now. That's strictly an outdoor experiment. But yeah, those books had a lot of science experiments. Which and thing was, it's not just about getting me the book. She would actually sit with me and help me do the experiment. Um, and the other thing was she would even take me to the science fairs. I'm not sure if schools do these a lot, but every school in Geelong we used to have like a science day,
Yes, yes. I
and
remember I joined some of them
yeah,
as well.
and this group of students would get together and do a science project. Like the volcano one was probably the most common
Yes,
one.
the
Build
common
a
one, yes.
volcano, yeah. Uh, then a potato battery, and all of these little experiments. And she was the one who really got me into that kind of thinking. And I continued to develop that and did slightly more advanced things. I got into understanding electronics, and I was really interested in computers. So I started going into software. But going back into electronics, we really had a few people who were staying in our house or rented in our house, and who really helped me pique my interest because they were electrical engineers, and they showed me how I could build a little circuit. I used to build radios and transmitters, and my school project was a proper transmitter where I could transmit, and someone in another house could listen to it on a radio. So
Wow.
it was fun doing all of that, actually designing all of that and building all of that from scratch and understanding exactly how it's working. So I really enjoyed that, and I think that's what got me started and built my interest in science, and
Wow.
eventually into computers, because at the end of the day, after building it, I wanted to program it.
Okay, so you would say that your mom is the main inspiration behind all this, I mean, that's what I heard when you were growing up, and
Definitely,
I used to
definitely.
hear that, this young little boy is so interested in science and he used to do these little experiments. I used to really hear this,
Yes.
and it would kind of interest me as well because I was very interested in science myself. I used to do a lot of study on the stars and, a lot of
Right.
astronomy, and I used to do a lot of study because I really wanted to go into science. But then when I found out that I had to do maths, I said, okay, I'm going to push out of this. No more maths for me. I'm not going to do science because it involved a
Yeah,
lot of
it,
maths and
it
a lot of
was it
calculations.
is difficult, but I mean, credit to my mom, because she kept at it year after year, day after day, week after week, month after month, and year after year. She kept at it all through. I remember class 4 or 5 when I actually started having math problems, where I actually go into slightly above addition and subtraction, where I actually had problem sums, and sitting with my mom, and she tried to not solve it for me, but the way she would hint at how I should arrive at the solution on my own. And she did that year after year, because I remember when I was in class 8 or 9, and she still would do that as the problems got more and more complicated. So obviously she stuck with it for quite some time, and that made a difference.
Wow. I hope she's watching it. We'd like to give her a applause here right now because of consistently and constantly and so sincerely looking after your work and your maths and your science and everything. And that is why you're there where you are right now. So coming to more interesting things, I introduced at the beginning that you are a private pilot. Now, in from science to, I mean, that's okay. I mean, that's fantastic. But what exactly inspired you to become a pilot? Because I always thought you would, seriously,
Yeah.
when I saw you as a little boy and I heard about your little inventions and your little science projects, I always thought you'd become a scientist or you'd be in NASA or somewhere like that. I mean, listening to this little adventure of yours, this pilot, and I thought I should call this very handsome pilot to my show. And I should tell everybody, all those young people out there watching you right now, please watch this guy because he's so interesting. Tell us about your inspiration about becoming a pilot.
It's uh, it's actually started from my interest in cars. Strangely, you probably know my father's an automobile engineer, had a garage for ages, and I've always grown up around cars. Uh, Lots and lots of them, and in many different states of repair. So from a very young age, I was exposed to a car being opened up completely, see how exactly it works, the engine and the mechanics of the whole thing. And with my interest in science, I thought, what's next? How do I bring the two together? Yes, I can drive cars, and with the exposure to cars I had at that time, I thought, what's the next step? And it always felt to me that the next step would be an aeroplane somehow. That's what went on in that head at that time. So I thought, if I would like to, if I would, I didn't know I was going to be a private pilot, and I'm not a commercial pilot. I don't. That's not my job. It's just something that I do as a hobby. So I fly small airplanes and fly myself or my family, and quick trip to France. So that kind of an airplane. But it was, that I thought, yes, I should learn how to fly an airplane, and that would be really an interesting thing to do. So I got myself a copy of Microsoft Flight Simulator. This is one of the earliest things that came out. You could load it in the computer, and all the controls were there on the screen, and it would teach you exactly how to fly the airplane. So my interest got set. Obviously, at that time, I tried to fly big Airbus airplanes and Boeing airplanes, and it felt nice. You could land at any international airport in the world, and it's like, wow, I can land in Heathrow, I could land at JFK in New York. So that's how it started. Uh, then obviously not a lot happened. I went into college. I went to Vellore, and during my college days, I started reading up. I didn't have the level of flexibility of kitchen projects because I didn't have a kitchen at the time. I was in the hostel, but we did have the lab and we did have all the facilities of an engineering college. So I could really go into it, and more I went into it, I thought that yes, this is something I'm genuinely interested in. Even though I studied IT and I'm a business consultant now, I'm working for a large software company. So that's the job side of things. But in my mind, I always wanted to be interested in flying airplanes and getting to know airplanes. And I wanted to keep this separate because a lot of times I've seen that if you make your hobby your job, you sort of lose out on both, because it's become a job. I have to do it. So I don't want to be in a position where I have to do something I love. And, it should be just something I do when I want to. So that's why I kept it separate. And after I moved to the UK, and that's again, thanks to my job, because if I would have pursued a pilot's career, I probably would have never come to this country. Don't know how it would have worked out. But after I came here, I've seen that it's a much more accessible way of life. It's just a hobby in this country for a lot of people. So I thought, yeah, okay, let's at least give it a try. Let's go to a local flight school and see what it's like. Get into a small airplane and see what it feels like. And I had an idea that okay, maybe I'm gonna fly over my house, see a few things. It's gonna look like Google Earth, and that's gonna be that. But once I took off from that runway with my instructor, I was like, okay, I'm actually sitting in an airplane. I'm actually controlling the instruments. My instructor is telling me what to do, but still I'm doing it. And
Okay.
that level of freedom and that just clicked something in me. I was like, no, this is something I want to be able to do whenever I want to do it. And I want to be in control of this. And that's what led to it. Took me about 7 8 months to learn, and once that was done, it was like it's so many possibilities at that time. I mean, initially, yes, whoever would come, I'd take them up for a quick flight, show them my house, and then land back. But after that, I started doing tours for people. I just said that, if you want to go for a flight, let's just go, and we can go anywhere. The UK is not massive. You can get from one corner of the UK to the other in about 2 hours in an airplane, in a small little airplane. So we would go out, go to the beach, go to a different county, go to Wales, go to Scotland, and pick up something to eat, and then come back. And then that just opened, so many possibilities. And the way it is, there's a sort of culture here where, if it's a pilot, and then if you're a pilot, and there are other people who wants to fly, it's generally a good thing to just sort of take them flying. So we even have days where open days, like people come to the airport and are like, do you want to go flying? Let's go. And we go for about an hour flying and come back. So I started this thing where there's a website actually where people could register if they're interested to go and fly, and then we could meet up and then go and fly. And initially, the first year I did that, it was people with obviously special occasions, birthdays, anniversaries, and things like that. And I would take them up. There's so many times where the husband is surprising the wife or the other way around, and they're like, okay, we're just going to the airfield to meet someone. And they get to the airfield, and then he says, yo, we're going flying. And the other person has no idea. It's like, what? We're actually going in an airplane? And we get in there, and then obviously pre-arranged where we're going to fly, and then we go and fly. And in so many times I've seen, uh, we fly over their house, and either their grandparents or their kids or whoever have a big sign on their garden. Either it's a happy birthday or a happy anniversary or whatever the occasion. And when you see the person, who's for whom the surprise is, it feels like, wow. I mean, I was able to do this for them, and that really feels nice. That's a completely different feeling. That's what keeps me at it, and that's what really makes me want to show this hobby to other people, and say that yes, the commercial line is there, it's difficult, it's costly, but there's this whole other way of life to it that you can explore, and you can open up. So that really feels good.
Wow. So I can understand that you're so happy. At one point when you were saying that I actually did that, you were feeling, you were almost shivering. When you were saying that you're feeling so happy that you were making other people happy by this whole
Yes.
hobby of yours. So Javed, I have one question. When you become a pilot, a private pilot, do you have to actually certify? I mean, that I like here. I don't know about a commercial pilot. You have to fly so many hours, and then you get your you get a certificate, or you're certified to become a pilot. So how is it for a private pilot there?
It's quite a long course. Like I said, it took me 7 or 8 months to get it.
Okay.
That's mostly because job and everything else gets in the way, so I was only doing weekends. But yeah, it's very similar to a commercial pilot course, because at the end of the day, we're learning to fly an airplane. and even commercial pilots learn to fly on little airplanes to start with, the same kind that we fly. The skills that we learn initially are exactly the same. We need to know the rules of the air. So there's all the exams that we've got to give. Obviously, for commercial pilots, they've got to give more exams because they need to know more things about internationally how it works, and things about how the industry works. Whereas we need to know things like weather decision making, and we need to know things about how the airplane itself works, all the instruments, how it works, and a little bit about how the system works, because we need to fit into the system at the end of the day for everyone to be safe. As a private pilot, the exams, how many exams was it? I think it was 7 exams. Obviously, with a very high pass mark, it's around 75% to pass.
Okay.
So, yeah, 7 exams, the theory exams, and then we have 2 practical exams to go through. So, yes, definitely we need to go through a lot of training. Some of it scary at times, but fun all in all. So yeah.
What's a scary training? What's a scary? You have to share this. What's a scary training all about?
So the airplanes that we fly are single engine airplanes, single engine propeller driven airplanes. So unlike commercial airplanes, if the worst happens and you lose an engine, you have the other engine, so you can get somewhere.
Okay.
Whereas for us, if it's a single engine, so if it breaks, you're a very heavy glider, essentially.
Okay. So what happens in that particular situation? What happens? How are you trained to?
There are procedures. The first thing is fly the airplane, because the airplane is still flying. It doesn't just fall out of the sky if the engine quits. Like I said, it becomes a glider, not a very good one, but it's still a glider. So we just need to safely glide it to a field or a beach, or any piece of land where we can safely land it.
Okay.
When we're landing, the engine's at minimum power anyway, so it just becomes a forced landing, not a planned landing. But other than that, there's nothing. I mean, the first time it happens, it is terrifying, because the instructor just goes, "All right, engine off."
Oh my God.
Forced landing, find a field. Where should we go?
Oh, so that's part of the training. That's part of the training.
That's part of the training.
Oh, oops. All right.
Yeah, not for real. Yeah, we do that plenty of times during the training. I think about 50 times during the training, where the instructor would go, "Okay, we're just flying along, everything's fine. All right, engine off, and what are you gonna do now? How are you gonna save yourself?" So yeah, we have to plan it. We have to prepare for it a lot, and every flight that we do, obviously, we look at all of those risks, and that's what the training gets into. And when it really happens, it's never happened to me. I've never had an engine failure. Touch wood. But for some of my friends where it's happened, they said that the training is so good that it just clicks. It's like a reflex action. It just happens. You follow the right procedure, you get on the ground. The closest I've had was the engine started coughing, because I had the wrong fuel tank on. Mostly because these airplanes, unlike cars, have multiple fuel tanks. Just the one engine, but multiple fuel tanks, minimum of 2, because 1 on each wing. And I was flying one airplane with 4 fuel tanks, and the 2 on each wing, and one of the fuel tanks was sort of draining into the other. So I had a moment where the engine was like, "Okay, no fuel," it starts coughing, change the fuel tank, and everything's fine again. But that's sort of the worst I've had. And it was obviously a nice fine day with I was in the middle of nowhere, so plenty of fields everywhere. So even if I couldn't start the engine, no big deal. But yeah, I've never had a mechanical issue with the plane. Let's say I've had other issues though.
So you know what? I was just thinking of something that, a person who hyperventilates like me, a person who goes hyper and scared and screaming about things. I don't think I can do something as calmly as you. Like, okay, the trainer says now the engine is off, and I said, now what? I mean, I would probably jump out, something like that. I mean, I would be scared out of my wits. You are so cool and collected, so you know exactly what to do. But yeah, these are adventures, Javed. You have an adventure. You can chronicle all this. I think, I'm sure, like, once you have enough of these adventures, I mean, these are your training adventures. Once you have enough of your beautiful adventures, you can actually chronicle them into a kind of a book, and your beautiful storybook of flying can come through, and we're going to be waiting for the book.
Oh yes, yeah,
So that would be very interesting. No, but
yeah.
I want to ask you that you said that you travel with your friends, and then you sometimes go with your family and all. So, which are the places you've gone with your family? This is very interesting because you've got a very cute little kiddo, and your
Yes,
wife.
and he loves flying.
He loves flying because he's gotten addicted to
I'll
it.
show you a photo of him. What he does.
Okay.
He absolutely loves flying. Can I show you a photo of him?
Yes, yes, sure, please.
How do I share my screen? There we go. You see that?
Oh my gosh,
that's
that's so
that's the
cute.
little one in my airplane.
That's so cute. Oh my gosh. So he's got his own place out there.
Yeah, he
Wonderful.
knows his place. He always wants to sit in front. He knows where
So
he
how old is
sits.
he? How old is he? When did he
That's
start flying? How?
yeah. He's 4 now. He's gonna be 5 in January.
Okay, so
Uh,
when was he flying with you? Since when was he flying with you? Since
four
he was three or
months.
something?
Four
3, 4?
months. 4 months.
4 months? Oh my God. That's amazing. Oh, that's
Yeah,
him.
that's him in front
Okay.
of the
And
airplane.
that's your
Yeah,
plane.
that's one. I mean, the way we own it, way we do it is we don't own the airplanes outright. Uh, there's this one. It's 4 of us, so 4 of us sort
Okay.
of on this airplane together. Then there's another one that 8 of us on it. So then what happens is, like, these airplanes, they obviously they have to go through a very rigorous maintenance program, and when it
Okay.
goes for maintenance is actually away for a couple of weeks. It takes long to maintain these airplanes, so that's why
All
having
right.
shares in multiple airplanes basically means um, I'm covered for when this one's out, I have the other one to fly. But yeah, that's him in front of the airplane, and yeah, I just had a couple of photos. But yeah,
Show us some more. Wow.
one this obviously that's not mine. That was we went to an
Yes.
airfield, and then we just saw this big plane, and he said, "Daddy, I want a photo in front of the airplane." I'll
Okay.
actually show you one of the old ones when we were. Yeah, let's. That was the old one. Oh, yeah, have a look at this one.
Oh,
Not sure if you can hear it.
yes, I can hear. Yes, yes. He was really small at that point of time.
He
Yes.
was, I think he was just walking. He was one.
He was, oh,
He was one. We were just walking. That was the airfield. Just barely walking.
so cute. What's his name?
Tian.
Tian. Okay,
Tian.
wow.
Tian.
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 So Tian seems to be on the way to becoming a very good pilot. I can see that.
Yeah, he's on the flight simulator a lot with me. I've got a flight simulator set up at home, and
Okay.
yeah, see, there you go.
Oh,
Fast
there.
asleep.
Okay. Wow.
So yeah, he's got a flight simulator. He's quite interested on the flight simulator. He's just starting to get the hang of it. He
Okay.
manages not to crash most of the time. So
Wonderful.
yeah, that was a video we made right in the beginning. That was one of his first. Well, he was one, so not one of his first, but one of his first where he's actually able to understand what's happening.
Wow.
So
Wonderful. I mean, you are such an adventurous person. So tell me something. during all these flights, did you ever get into any sort of, I wouldn't be using that word, but any sort of adventure that you would like to share with us?
Oh, we had one last year.
You did.
Well, nothing from this year because obviously, as you know, because of COVID, everything is cancelled.
Yes.
But last year, I went. I decided to fly to Europe's largest aviation gathering. It's called Aero Expo. It's in Friedrichshafen in Germany, right next to Lake Constance. So it's a lovely place to go. Very beautiful because you cross the Swiss Alps and get there. So it's a really lovely place. Uh, Unfortunately for me, the weather wasn't great.
Okay.
So I took off from the UK. I got to France, did the custom clearance and all of that. So that was fine. I took off from France. So this was Western France, and I was heading towards Germany, German-Swiss border over the Lake Constance. Just before I got there, the weather forecast said, there's going to be clouds from pretty much the ground up to sort of 8,000 feet, and then it's going to be clear, and then clouds from around another 15,000. So I thought, fine, I have proper, solid, clear, visible area in between. So I'll just take that and go. We go all the way
And
across.
what time was this when you were flying? What time was this? What was the time when you were flying? Was it afternoon, morning,
Middle of the
evening?
day, middle of the day. I started in the morning in the UK. Germany is 1 hour ahead of us. So by the time I got to France, the first stop, it was around 11ish,
Okay.
and then I took off around midday, actually 1 o'clock France, and then around 2:30. So I find myself in the middle of these two cloud layers, and that now it was towards the eastern side of France, just about to approach Black Forest, just before entering Germany,
Okay.
and yes, probably around and half an hour from Strasbourg, and the cloud layer is more than forecast, so clouds started
Oh,
rising. So I thought, okay, not terrible. I'll probably just have to go a little bit higher. So I was up at around 10,000 feet. And now what happens? The cloud layers start to meet, and it's meeting quicker than I can keep up with it because I was on the yellow airplane that you just saw.
were you
Um,
alone or was Tian with
no,
you
no,
and
I
your?
was alone. I was alone on this
Okay.
one.
Okay.
I was alone for this one. So well, basically, long story short, I found myself in the middle of cloud. I'm not supposed to be in cloud because my instrument rating. So in our license, we have the basic private pilot rating, and then we can add on other qualifications. So flying at night, flying in clouds, and things like that. My instrument rating allows me to fly in clouds in the UK, not outside the UK. I'm working on the other one to so that I can do it worldwide. So last year at that time, I wasn't supposed to be in the clouds, and I didn't plan to be in the clouds, but I ended up in the clouds. So I told them that inadvertently I ended up in clouds. I was trying to get back, but the cloud was just rising faster than my plane can go. So I ended up in clouds, and it was quite cold because it was the first week of April, and it was quite cold up there, and I could just see the airframe freezing up. I could just start seeing ice on the wings, and that
Mm.
is bad.
Oh, gosh.
That's really bad.
Okay.
So I knew I had about 30 minutes, and I had to land that thing. So at 10,000 feet, it's the Alps on one side, is the Black Forest on one side. I wasn't sure I was going to get to Strasbourg, and huge thunder clouds on the other side. So there wasn't a lot of options. So I called up the French air traffic control, and I said, I need to, first of all, I need to get down. I need to descend, get into some warmer air so that I get the ice to melt.
Mm.
And then I need to land because my plane is not going to be able to, you know, take on any more ice. So yeah, quick descent. It was the whole thing took around 20 minutes, but it feels like it took hours. And then obviously the way the air law, the way it works is, as I'm flying the airplane, I'm the pilot in command, so I make any decision of what I want to do with the airplane. So I can do whatever I want. I can ask them for help. They'll provide whatever help they can, but it's up to me to come to a safe outcome at that point. I looked around. I have an aeronautical chart. The one you can see back here is the one for
Okay.
UK. So I had a similar one for France. And looking around, there's like no airports in the immediate vicinity, except for
Okay.
an Air Force base, a French Air Force base, which we're not supposed to land at. I mean, I knew I wasn't supposed to go into Air Force bases, but I told the controller that no, this is not going to work out. I can't get to any of the other civilian airfields. I
Hmm.
will have to divert to their Air Force base. Uh, so, like I said, the law, I say what I want and they have to help me. So they said, okay, if you're going to the Air Force base, you'll need to be escorted. Like, okay, don't know what that means, but go on. After about 5 minutes, I see two Dassault Rafale fighter jets from the
Okay.
French Air Force. one
Wow.
on this, one on my right, one on my left. And I was like, ah, that's what you mean.
Wow. This is more. This is like a movie, right? This is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Luckily, I had descended far enough that I wasn't getting any more ice buildup, but the ice wasn't
Okay.
melting, so I still knew I had to get down. Luckily, the pilot on the Rafale was quite friendly, and he comes in and says, "Yellow TB9." My airplane is a TB9. Yellow TB9. Well, what are your intentions? I'm like, I'm going to this Air Force base and I'm going to land, but I'm in cloud, so I can't see anything. So and that airplane doesn't have a lot of equipment to get me there. So he's fully uh, kitted up, so he knows exactly where he's going. So I told him, make sure all your lights are on, and I'm just gonna follow the lights. So he asked me, how fast can you go? Like 100 knots. I asked him, how slow can you go? He said, maybe 100 knots. He's a jet fighter.
Okay.
So yeah, eventually we sort of circled around a bit, and then eventually we went through 10,000 feet of cloud almost, and I could just make out that dark ground. I could make out a few fields. I'm like, okay, I at least I know where the ground is. I'm not inverted. So yeah, I went to the airfield, and I saw the runway. They had the lights all the way up, so I saw it properly. And the last message he gave me was like, okay, now you have the runway, everything's good. And he said, all the best. I was like, it's done. Why
Wow.
are you saying all the best? I'm about to land. And just before I landed, the air traffic controller said, are you sure you want to land at a military base? There's another civilian airport, 10 miles the other way. I was like, I've had enough. I need to land. So I
Okay.
landed, and just after I came off the runway, I see all the sirens and the lights, and I'm like, oh, that is why they were asking. Welcoming committee from the Air Force. And the way it is, it's right in the middle of France, and it's one of the big sort of military bases, and no one knew English. The controllers are supposed to know English because that's like the international aviation language. So the controllers are
Okay.
fine. But as soon as I
Okay.
got to the ground and I opened up, everyone's talking in French. Everyone's talking to me in French. I was like, no. After some time, someone asked me for a passport. I showed them my passport. They wanted to see my flight planning and everything. Wanted to make sure, why I got stuck up there. And then it took about 2 hours for them to come up with a report, and mostly because of the French and the English. I was busy on Google Translate the whole time. But yeah, everything got settled. They sort of did a report saying, yeah, we've validated it and everything's fine. This pilot is just a tourist. He wants to visit this air show in Germany. Nothing wrong. And then they said, someone from the news outlet wants to talk to you.
Okay.
And later I found out, of course, military base, I'm not supposed to land. That one specifically is absolutely forbidden for civilians
Oops.
and requires written permission by someone big.
Okay.
And they said that in the last 10 years, you're the first civilian airplane to land.
Wow.
So I was in a French newspaper. It
Okay.
was not my photo because that wasn't allowed. But they had the photo of my airplane in one of the French newspapers saying a British pilot got lost, and then the French Air Force came to his rescue, and then we landed. So yeah, that was fun. I mean, at least it's good to know that the system works. I
Wow.
shouldn't have probably been in that situation in the first place, but as you know, I'm when I'm crazy about something, I want to get to that air show. That's what happened. Luckily, the following day, the weather was fine, and I made it to the air show.
Okay.
So
So you stayed back. You stayed back at the base out there,
yes,
military.
I stayed back. Yeah,
You-
on the day I stayed back at the base. It was fun. We went out for dinner with the station commander and the pilots who were escorting me.
Wow.
And they said, we've never flown so slow. I was like, yeah, good practice.
This is cool. I mean, see, we are laughing it out now, but then I can just I can understand the kind of situation you are in. Clouds, the lightning, and everything, and you can't see anything because everything was freezing.
Yeah.
That would have been very scary. But then now we're laughing it out and we're saying, "Wow, that was so much fun." I think you are such an adventurer. You're really really passionate
Yeah,
adventurer.
I mean, I think that was a bit of a getting me into a situation I didn't want to be in. But again, I knew exactly how the system should work, and it does, which is why they were there helping me out all through the time. And I mean, if at any point I knew that it wasn't going to work out, obviously I was going to turn back and head back straight back to the UK, and
Wow.
that would have been fine. But it's an adventure, and it's something to say because not a lot of people get to land in Air Force bases.
Yes.
So yeah, that's one of the big ones I've had actually.
No, seriously, I must. That's commendable. The kind of treatment they gave you, they made you stay overnight and then gave you dinner and everything. That's really beautiful. That's
It
a
truly
beautiful.
is.
In fact, that's a beautiful story. Now, when I hear it, it's when I was asking you whether you had any adventure, I meant some different sort of adventure. But then this adventure sounds very good, and I think you should chronicle this in your book that I'm talking about. If you are coming up with a book of your
I should,
the
yeah. I
flying
mean, there's
stories,
plenty of stories. There's just
you
so many
must
things.
so many
Every flight is a
stories.
new story, really. Especially
It
with
really,
Ian, with me, he's right when I'm doing something I'm just about to take off, and I'm like, what does this button do?
this
He's
is
just the
this is
best.
really
There's so many stories. Yeah, I really should. That's an excellent idea. I really should
yes,
put all
yes.
of
No,
that
in
down.
fact, I'm asking you to, I'm inspiring you to, and I'm really, really requesting you that you should come up with a book like this, where you chronicle each and every story that could be chapters, and then your French connection and your all your adventures with Tian, all these different adventures could be beautifully chronicled. This could be. I'm looking forward to it at least. I know you're going to
Definitely.
come up. You're such a
Thank you
smart
so much. I
guy.
should. I should.
You should. You're such a smart guy. You are going to come up with it, and I know about it. You, Javed, uh, have I do you have a message for our young people? Because the kind of stories that we have heard from you, I am inspired. In fact, if I was in England right now, I would have taken lessons from you in flying, and I would have gone and done all those adventures. Seriously. But for young people who are here and who have this wish to and desire to become a pilot like you, a private pilot. You said commercial pilot. To become a commercial pilot is very very expensive, but to become a private pilot like you, and there are many people watching. So right now, I want you to give a message to the young people because you followed your dream. You did something unconventional. You were into science, and then you went into IT, and then you went became a pilot. There are so many different facets in your life, so many different adventures that you have. What do you have to say to the young people? Because young people. Why I'm telling you young people is most of my videos are made for young people, and then they are sometimes very disillusioned that they had taken up one subject but then it didn't work out, and then they go off to another career that didn't work out, and then they are very disillusioned, they're very sad, and they feel like giving up on life. But then here you are creating history every day, every moment, every second. You are creating stories for yourself. Please, I would like you to speak to, before we end this whole show, I'd like you to speak to the young people.
That's an excellent question. I think what I would like to say is follow the passion, follow what you really want to do, not what looks like is going to be in demand. Don't follow what's in demand because everyone's going to do that. Follow what you're really passionate about. And like I said in the beginning, I always wanted to keep work and my passions, my hobbies separate, which is why I'm a business consultant. I'm into IT, and I'm a private pilot in my own time. And when I picked IT, I knew because of my science background, I could pretty much go into everything, any of the sciences. But IT sort of appealed to me because I was interested in computers. I learned to program from a very young age, class 4, I think, is
Okay.
when I started programming. So that's something I was interested. I still program actually. I have I still write programs for phones. Android programming. I still do a bit of it. But I started really early. I knew I was good at it. I knew how to develop that, and it's at the time, yes, doing engineering and doing medical were the sort of the main two things. And yes, I went into engineering, but it's not because it's something that other people wanted me to do. I was genuinely interested in it. I knew I would be good in it, and I knew I would be good in computers. So that's what drove the decision. And these days there are with all the connectivity and the way like we're having this conversation. When I was in college, something like this, you couldn't think of it.
Yes.
It happens only in big companies, and only the CEO is going to sort of address his people in this sort of an environment. But now we can have this sort of communication. So that opens up so many new ways of, and so many new channels for people. So it's about follow what you really are passionate about, because learning to do something because of external pressure, you're never going to be best at it. And if you're not the best at it, it's you're not able to give that quality back, and without the quality, it's not going to work. So the key message for me is follow that passion. Make sure what you do as a job is something that you're going to follow, because that's something you'll have to do day after day for the rest of your life. And yes, people change careers and it works out for a lot of people, but if you don't have to, it's easier, I guess. And it's very hard to say that something that's maybe not big in the market now is maybe gonna become big in the market tomorrow. So it's not like everyone thinks that you should be this, and then you have to follow that. It's not like that. And especially in India, I remember, because I was for one of my previous jobs, I was interviewing people to come to the UK, and everyone I would interview, they sort of lack that basic. Everyone went into the computer field at the end, and then they let's say last 10 years, there's a sort of general drive that people would study engineering, whichever branch of engineering, and then go into some sort of computer job. But you can clearly tell that the person has another aptitude. They would have done so much better if they just would have picked a field that they generally are interested in. And everyone has different interests. I mean, it could be anything. Uh, so it's that's my key message. Follow that. Follow the passion. Follow something that you're really gonna be good at. Because if you're the best at it, you're the best at it. And you know, and when you have a hobby, keep it keep it separate. And that's something that's the thing that you spend your life and work hard and do everything else for to attain that hobby. So yeah, that's sort of my message. And just another thing I'd like to add to that. Like I said, I was interested in programming. So and I write Android programs and iPhone programs, bits and pieces of websites here and there. And I have a small consultancy firm of my own. And at the moment, what I'm doing is I'm sort of trying to do a, what's it called, like an internship.
Okay.
For college students. So basically, what we do is things that I've done on my Android apps. We would take the exact same problem that we've already built, change a few things, and tell them that, okay, how would you build it? How would you design it? How would you program it? And then get their feedback, and then we can feed them back any real world experiences that we see from products in the market. Because in college and in those environments, they're protected. And for me, being in the industry for the last, well, it's been 15 years now.
Wow.
Yeah. Being in the industry for 15 years, what I've seen is this is not something people can learn by watching videos or studying or doing it any other way. Primarily because when I'm working for a client, I have an agreement with them telling that I'm not going to disclose anything that I've built here to anyone else. And everyone works that way. All companies primarily work that way. All of the important stuff happens that way. But when we do internships, we can anonymously provide similar feedback, give them real world problems, and sort of bring them up. So someone who's genuinely interested and someone who has the right aptitude can come up to that level, and is then able to we may able to better prepare them. So I have a few people currently in Kolkata who were building a few projects for me, and it's a win-win for us because we can then tell them that, okay, you get a certificate from us saying that you've done an internship with us. You get some real-world experience, and we get some new ideas because obviously college students are a great way of getting new ideas. We throw a problem at them, 20 different people will come up with 20 different ideas, which is great. And then we can make it work with them. And it's not like we're going to take away their ideas. We sort of work with them to develop their ideas and then sort of help them market that product so that they have something of their own in the real market. And I was thinking that when I get the opportunity, it's not really settled at the moment. It's still in a planning phase. It's and with everything that's happening this year, I've not really had a chance to push it forward. But let's say in the next 3 to 5 years, I intend to really push it forward and then take it back to Assam, take it back to Assam, and take it back to Meghalaya, and
I'm so happy. Woo!
college students there. I'd like to really build something with them because there's a lot of potential there. I'm from there, so I know for a fact there's a lot of potential from there. So I'd really like to bring this up to them, and I don't know how I'd advertise it. There's a lot of things to work out, but if I could have college students from there sort of interacting, I could give them some real world challenges that we face here in the UK and my clients in the US and other major countries. And then they can be part of that bigger global thing that then they get the exposure to the global market, and they're part of a bigger thing that way. So instead of just thinking in terms of from a small place, yeah, you're gonna go to Delhi, or you're gonna go to Mumbai, and yes, that is there, but then it's not about relocating, or it's about being involved in something that does not have a national boundary, for example. That's what I want to get to them in back in Assam.
That's that's Javed, that's a wonderful dream you have. Please keep on at it. I know that
Yeah,
you're going to accomplish this. And when you said Assam and Meghalaya, I was like literally jumping for joy
yeah. I
because
mean, it's
you
close to my
have this
heart.
dream.
It's to where I'm
Yes.
from, so of course.
Wow, this is a beautiful dream, and I hope all these young people are listening. Wow, I'm keeping my fingers crossed because if in 3 years, 3 years is just going to go by like that, and your project is
Yeah,
going to
I
come
hope so.
through. I'm just praying it comes through for the young people, and you'll be able to work with young people here, the young engineers, and all the people who wish to work with you. This is going to be a dream come true for me also because I want all my young people to kind of get this global exposure. You are talking about a global exposure and how they need to work at a global level. This is going to be fantastic, Javed. You've given the best news ever. This is a really fantastic news. Thank you so much. I thank you from the bottom of my heart when you say things like this. And these sort of exposures are necessary for our young people. And whatever you said today, I'm sure this is going to inspire so many young people. I'm so glad
I
that
really
you
hope
came
so.
onto
Yeah,
my show,
that's
Javed.
that's the objective.
That's the objective,
Yeah.
exactly. To get people like this, influencers like this, Javed Rahman. You have done us proud. We are so proud that you being an Ohomia, your wife being an Ohomia, both of you are doing such commendable work out there in England. We wish you the best that you can possibly do in the UK. Please carry on with your fantastic work. And once you have the time, please ideate for Assam, for Meghalaya, for Northeast India.
Definitely,
We are waiting for you,
definitely.
and we're going to help you out in whichever way possible that your dreams are fulfilled here.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Javed. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you. It was a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.